Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're doing a Shrine of Secrets review for the 1st of February 2023. We've had a few updates since the last one. Basically, they've done the solo queue update thing, and yesterday they've did it so now you can track gen progress. So the icon will come up, but now you can see how far along gen is. And honestly, this update should have come out years ago. This is such a massive turnaround, especially for players like me. I actually want to play Survivor, which is just crazy, and it's been great. This has actually been a really good update. The nurse changes are a bit whatever. The night buffs are nice, but I don't know if I'm gonna play them a whole lot more, to be honest. But anyway, before I get started, I want to say that there's two perks on this shrine that I'm assuming are needed for future rifts tome challenges. I forgot what they're called, but basically Vitario and the Knight are the characters for this tome. So some of these shrines are going to have their perks, including this one. So I would say just pick these up if you don't have them and you don't have the Forged in Fog chapter, because you're going to need them, I'm assuming, for future challenges. So I'm just putting that as a disclaimer. Like, even if you don't like them or you don't think you'd use them a whole lot, you might need them for those challenges. Okay. First of all, we have Empathy, which is a Claudette perk, and this one lets you see the auras of people when they are injured. And also doesn't reveal it when they're in direct contact with the killer. So you used to be able to use this to see when people are being chased, but this doesn't work anymore. So now it's just basically if they're just kind of wandering around or if they're doing a gen injured. And I don't think it's bad, but I just think Bond is a lot better at this. Bond is a much smaller range because Empathy goes up to like 128 meters, which is pretty crazy. Bond only goes up to 36, but that just lets you see people whatever they're doing, including being in direct contact with the killer. So I would say Bond is probably better than this. Although I will say this perk is pretty good if you've got a challenge to like heal health states or fully deplete medkits, because it lets you find someone and you can use your medkit on them, you can heal them. Obviously, it's good to just have them healed anyway, but I like to use this one for those challenges because I think that I'm actually got that one right now. So it's not bad. I think there's better aura pardon me, better aura perks for this, but I don't think this perk's bad. The range of this one is great, so maybe use this with open-handed. See how that goes. Next up, we have Hex Undying, which is a blight perk, and this one protects your hex totems. It shows the auras of survivors around dual totems, and also, oh yeah, no, dual totems. I thought it was hex totems as well, but shows auras of survivors around dual totems, and then whenever a hex totem gets cleansed, Hex Undying will sacrifice itself and will always be the first hex to go. So even if you're using a whole hex build, now no matter what the first hex that gets destroyed is, it will always be Hex Undying. It will basically just give itself up to let the other ones carry on. This perk's great, but obviously the thing is you have to use this with hex perks. You can try and use it by itself, but it's not that great, to be honest. So probably use this with something else, which is fine because obviously there's a lot of hex perk options: Hex Ruin, Hex Haunted Grounds, Hex Plaything, Hex Retribution. So I think it's definitely good for that. And I also think the aura reveal is really underrated because it's within 4 meters of dual totems, so they don't even have to be cleansing it if they happen to be healing next to it. I know in some loops they have a gen bio totem, so you could do it with that as well. But keep in mind that that effect only happens while Hex Undying is active. Once it gets destroyed, you don't see the auras, basically. So it's a great perk as long as you use it with something. But obviously, I think most people read that and assume that you need to use it with something. So yeah, great perk. Next up, we have Nowhere to Hide, which is a nice perk, and this one is a really good perk, actually. I'm expecting a nerf kind of soon, or like in the future, because I feel like this one is a bit. I'll explain. Basically, you kick a gen, and then it shows the auras of people within the radius of that gen, um, and it shows it for like 4 seconds. And it has no cooldown, so you can literally just go from, like, if you're in a free gen, you can literally just go gen to gen to gen and just kick them. And if you see someone who's waiting nearby for you to go away, then you can chase them. And like I said, there's no cooldown to this. Obviously, you won't get value out of this every time. Obviously, some survivors will just run off, or there just might not be any survivors around at all. But the fact it has no cooldown just means that you could just constantly just patrol gens and just try and find people, which is really good if you're playing against stealthy survivors. You know, when there's like 2 survivors left, but there's like 4 gens left, so they're just hiding. It's kind of good for that because 24 meters is not bad. And this is one of the perks I mentioned will probably be needed for future challenges. It might be for some challenges now, I don't know, but I know that the next perk we're talking about has one on the set of challenges that are available now, if that makes sense. So I would say pick this up if you are going to do those challenges, but also I will say pick it up anyway. But I'll go into that in the feedback part. Finally, we have Fogwise, which is a Vitario perk, and this one is so once you hit a great skill check while repairing a gen, it reveals the killer's aura to you for 7 seconds. I tried to say killer's aura reveal, which doesn't make sense. Basically, you just sit on a gen, and every time you get a great skill check, you get to see where the killer is. Now, I've been using this perk a lot, and I know some people say, like, oh, you have to be a gen jockey for this, but, like, not really. Like, you don't have to just sit on a gen. Like, skill checks are very common. Hitting great skill checks is very easy. So I think that's not really an argument. I think this one is honestly great. And I think as a solo queue player, I think it's amazing because it's so easy to trigger. You just have to be on a gen and you just have to hit a great skill check. And it's tier 3. It shows 7 seconds of aura reveal. Now, compared to Alert, which is the other perk that I used to basically main on every survivor, that one can happen while you're in chase or while you're healing or while you're doing an exit gate because it revolves around the killer doing something. And that only lasts 5 seconds. At max, that lasts 5 seconds. But Fogwise, yes, you have to be a gen on it, so you can't really be doing anything else. You have to be doing the objective. But, you know, all you have to do is hit great skill check so it comes from you, and you get an extra 2 seconds of it compared to Alert, which is great. Also, the thing with Alert is that because it shows break actions, half of the 5 seconds is just seeing the killer, you know, breaking something. There's only a few seconds to see like where they're going next after they've broken something. But with Fogwise, you can literally just catch them in the act of like hooking a survivor, chasing a survivor, maybe kicking the gen that you were just on. It's great. Honestly, this one has a lot of potential. You could probably combine it with some stuff, but to be honest, I've just been using it by itself with no synergy, and it works fine. It's a brilliant perk actually, and yeah, I use this on a lot of survivors now. I'm probably going to level this up in the shrine because Vitaria is only prestige 1, I think, at the moment, if that. So I think I would definitely level this up afterwards to get it for everyone. Okay, so that felt like it went on for a while, but the main point is probably these 2 perks. Nowhere to Hide is great because it has no cooldown. It's very easy to do. You don't even need... I didn't mention as well, but you can obviously use this with like Call of Brine, Eruption if you really want to go there. Any J kicker perks, but like I said, when I use this perk, I just use it with like itself. Like I don't synergize it with anything, and it's still great because even though obviously the aggression's still the same and everything, you still get to see where people are, and there's no cooldown, which I know I keep saying, but like yeah, it's great. And Fogwise is so easy to trigger, and you get such good value out of it. And I think especially if like you're in a team and one of you uses this, you know, if like the killer's like, you know, behaving weirdly, or if like none of your friends are getting chased, you can like tell them where they are and what they're doing. Sorry. Hex and Dying, I think it's pretty strong as well. I think if you're someone who uses Hex totems a lot, or you're trying to get into that, I would say definitely use this because the Blights of the perks aren't amazing. So I think this one's definitely a good pickup. And Empathy is probably, well, I think Claudette's a free character now, isn't she? So I would say not get this anyway, but I think, yeah, there's better options for you out there. Like Fogwise, use Fogwise rather than Empathy. Guys, that'll do it from me. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you found this useful, and I'll see you in the next one.